Welcome to the Free Idea Podcast. Today, driving through the foggy land of Bastrup near Austin. I have an idea that I want to share, but it's not my proudest idea. It's very sadistic, terrible. I'm gonna get canceled if I was someone famous, but I'm not. Again, it's a minefield to walk it, but it's just what it is. I just had the idea. Somebody else must have it too. So here it goes. It's like imagine movie where everybody's sadistic person and this country just loves war and is insensitive to war. It's just their lifestyle. It's what they do. There's nothing else that they love doing but war. And so with that said, in this world or country, they love to have awards, like a show awards, but for war attacks. I just thought about it because I was watching some guy who was having an award show for glitches in video games. I thought that was funny, and he made it really funny. So the games with the most glitches and the funniest glitches, or the most expensive game with the most ridiculous glitches, and he made it really good. Like it looked real. It fooled me. It almost looked like he actually did it in person, but it was all editing. So taking that same idea and the same concept, but now it's a society where they're looking at war videos and having categories for each one of them. So they're awarding games for honorable mentions, honorable fighters, honorable, let's say, countries that they're talking about. And then they go, well, honorable mentions, it's crazy. I got to use some real life examples over here to give my example. Like, damn, I don't like politics that much. But the knife attack, there was a very popular video of knife attack in Ukraine against the Russian. And it was very sad to see, but very gruesome. So you see the reality of war. And then you have the other attack that everybody talks about, which I don't know nothing about, where some pagers blew up in some soldiers' pockets somehow. It was like a spy that put explosives in everyone's pockets. Something to do with Israel. So it's kind of like that. You're gonna have those shows where it's honorable mentions, like honorable, not honorable as in honor, but you know, they're like, damn, how do you think about that? That's crazy. And so there's gonna be awards for the most creative attack, for the most sad one to see, most painful, maybe quickest death, strategy, most brutal. Now we have drones, so we're gonna have a video for the best drone attack, biggest explosion, most expensive attack, most sadistic and most gruesome. I feel like I'm just talking about this type of website where it just shows you the worst of the worst, uncensored, but that's not the point. It's really hard to say this without looking like a psychopath. I mean, sounding like one. Probably am, if I was able to think about this. Then the audience of this world would be military generals, sadistic citizens, people that just love that type of, like the SS type of Nazi person, rich politicians that are paying for the war, past presidents. This is where the silly comes to be silly. The announcer is Jesus. So the person who is giving the show and replaying the videos and giving commentary is Jesus. But in this case, he is ambivalent about the entire humanity and feeling powerless against their nature. He is just like, man, like I really created this bag of sadistic people. I dropped the ball. And he's just commenting on each video and referencing the Bible. Like he replays the most strategic attack for the audience, and then he comments and says, I gave you guys made you into the image of God to have the best brain of all, and you just use it for this. And kind of like that. Not funny when I say it because I don't have the funny bone for writing. But if anybody does have the funny bone, imagine Jesus just referencing the Bible, like not approving of their behavior, but being forced to give this show an award for them. I don't know why. It's just to juxtapose the the, the craziness. It's a world where just war is their bread and butter, and Jesus is just there to judge them, but forgive them, but also be like, guys, didn't you read the Bible? I said, love thy neighbor, not drop thy drone that to thy neighbor. And then every showman has a co-host, right? Well, who do you think would be the best or most make sense co-host of Jesus? And this is a silly one, so we gotta be the devil. But he's not going to be in person for some reason. He's just on Zoom, the computer. He's he's with a laptop on a chair, on a high chair, facing the audience with just the devil's face, and he's co-hosting, commenting as well. I don't know why. Maybe he is in hell and can't be there in person, or maybe he is out there causing the war, just prolonging it. And maybe you can see in the background that he is literally in the war, playing little tricks and making their guns malfunction or making soldiers betray each other by pulling pranks on them. You know, typical devil stuff. This is a society that seeks entertainment at all costs with no morality. So they don't care about anything. They'll just show anything. Maybe they do have morals. If you want to be creative, they have, you can give them some silly morals like that. I don't know. No chewing gum, law in war, maximum form of betrayal. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe don't use common tactics. Figure it out. Every time they show a video that explodes, the audience gets air thrown at their faces. Or during a night fight, the audience seats, sorry, not night, but knife. During a knife fight, the audience seats move with the slashes. Man, I feel horrible talking about this. It's like a 4D theater. I'm just delivering the idea. It's a terrible idea. When I think about it and I speak it into words, it just sounds horrible. It's more like not a paradox, but what do you call it? Jeopardy? Parody. It's more like a parody of a civilization that loves war. This touches the side of humanity that cannot control itself to kill each other and instead have accepted it as a fact and flourished in it. So now all they love is spending as much time as possible ingesting media about war, videos about it, participating in it, prolonging it, living in the rubble that war causes. And yep, that's it. That's the idea right there. It's terrible. But I have a feeling that it would be a funny slash sad parody. And whenever I think about that, for some reason I have American mind, but I know this is also an international thing. And this idea came to be because I saw that show's award for glitches in video games, but at the same time, I follow this page on Reddit where it just shows me, I think it's called combat footage. It shows me the uncensored combat footage that's happening all over the place in Ukraine and then in Israel. I think I don't even know who is fighting who, but they show old videos even from past wars that I've never heard about or past battles, and then they show modern ones. And what something that struck me and has always struck me is the fact that they put music over videos where people die. Usually the ones with the drones that are flying around. They put music over it, and it's music like rock and roll or no, it's like upbeat rock and roll, and it's so weird. It really is weird. It feels like somebody is not glorifying but enjoying the killing. It's like this is so fun and cool. I'm gonna put music over it. And so what I always do is I just turn up the sound automatically. There's never any sound in these videos. There's rarely any sound. But it's just like, damn, man. And when I read the comments, but I don't know about the ones in Reddit. I actually don't read the comments in Reddit usually, but not in there. But I do know the web pages that I used to explore when I was younger that used to get me traumatized when there would be the cartel beheadings and torture forums. Those things would mess me up for 3 months, 6 months, which I stopped watching them. But as curious as I was, morbid curiosity is what it's called. By that way, if you want to get scientific, everybody has it. You're just curious about things that are morbid, which are death or gruesome things that you shouldn't, but it's just like you have curiosity. And when I used to watch the comments on these videos, which were gruesome, it was horrible. These people, they enjoyed it. They loved it. They they went like, yeah, they deserve that. They would use language that was encouraging to whoever made the video or to whoever was the killer or the victim. I don't know. It was really weird. It's like who comments on porn videos, right? Who, who's gonna comment on videos where people are getting murdered? And what are they gonna say? Like, what's that type of person? Like, I got no idea. But what you get is what you get. And it's some of the most messed up comments I ever read where you're like, dude, this is wrong. Why are you saying that this is so cool and enjoyable? But that's encouraging when they deserve it. It is weird. Oof. So that combination is what has given me this idea of a sadistic society that just loves to award gruesome videos of the war. You could add other videos if you want some gang videos. Maybe that's a different game award show. It's gonna be called the War Award Show. That's a mouthful. War Award. Award got war. And that's where I got it from. Because I know this is a side of humanity that exists. It's one that I've seen. It's a little bit in the dark corners of the internet, but it's there. And all I'm doing is putting a magnifying glass on it and enlarging it. And now I'm making it into a full on society that enjoys this. And they make money out of it by showcasing it. It is crazy. Oh boy. Let me change the subject. I got a couple of ideas that are a little bit more upbeat than that. Let me see. I got this one. Imagine this one from Reddit. I got somebody was very cool. Imagine Cinderella. She lost the shoe, but you make a modern movie about Cinderella. Instead of she losing a shoe, it's she losing her phone. And you know, phones have Face ID. So this guy picks up the phone and somehow goes on an adventure to figure out whose phone is this by the messages that is receiving and phone calls or whatever. You can make it into an adventure, right? And you get a phone call, he responds to it, they tell him to go this and there and there to find the person, you tell him fake news, he gets into some deal gone wrong or something, a scam. And the way he finds the person is by putting the phone on their face because he has Face ID. You know how the shoe only fits one woman. It's better at a glass. So this phone only opens up with the right face of the woman. You can make it. I think it's a fun little concept for a movie or a short video. Doesn't even have to be a movie. There's like not that much sauce in there. You would just be ripping off Cinderella. But make it into a short film. Maybe like a 30-second film, a 5-minute film of somebody looking for a woman by scanning their face. Yeah. Okay, how about this? How about a phone that has TikTok? And because for some reason TikTok loves to get all your information and privacy, it scans your face. And when it does that, it serves you a compilation of all the videos that you've watched this year or a compilation of your life. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. A compilation of your life's memories. So somehow it scans your face and it gets all your ideas and experiences. Because China loves to get all your information, right? And then he makes a compilation, just like the ones that you see on TikTok all the time with a beautiful nostalgic music, with the birds chirping and the pigeons cooing, or maybe some of those string music that is like very soft and old sounding. And then it plays back your memories to you. Or your memories, like in a summary, maybe when you were a kid, when you were 10, when you turned 15, when you turned 20, 18, when you had parents or grandparents, all the nice and sweet memories. Then you get some sad ones, first person that passed away for you. Maybe the first time you got your car broken. It starts playing sad ones too. They plays your accomplishments when you graduated or score that score at that game that you were playing and everybody cheered. When you turn in some paperwork to join something that meant a lot for you. It'd be nice. I think this would be nice. I'm thinking like Black Mirror. Black Mirror could do something similar to that. Where but with no plot twist, please. Just imagine another short film where your phone scans your face and gives you a summary of your life memories with nostalgic music. Cool. Next one. I got Bluetooth candles that turn on by sound of fingers snapping or clapping. And we already have candles that are fake candles that are Bluetooth. And we already have lights that turn on when you clap. But this one is an actual candle. It's probably connected to a little device that is touching the wick. And whenever you clap, it does like an electrical arc, turns on for maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds. And then it ignites the flame. And then to turn it off, I got no idea. Maybe to turn it off, it has a little device at the top that looks like a cup, and it lowers it onto the top of it, and it turns off the candle. The issue here is that it can't be on the candle itself. It probably has to be on the wall together with the candle, with a little arm. Have some AI so that the little arm knows where the candle and the wick is at all times, and if it's safe to turn it on, rather than it's gonna drip and burn something, or if there's stuff around that could catch on fire, right? But what that would do, it would be like you would feel like a magician or like some villain in the layer where they come in and they clap, or they just open the door and all the candles in a row start turning on. That would be so cool. It's also cool for people that just love candles and wants to add some atmosphere to their house and probably have the money for that. So most likely someone rich. It's always the rich that got the money for it. And so, yep, imagine that. You enter your house, clap your hands, all the candles turn on, or maybe you snap your fingers, or give a order with your voice command. Like I can say that the AI I was about to say it was my phone would turn on. It's an iPhone, so you know what the word I was going to say. Yeah, so you say one word to your device and or to the walls, and all the candles turn on. That'd be so cool. And it's possible with Bluetooth. And that is all. Those are all the ideas I got. I've been collecting them for a little bit, just sort of writing them down as I go through the day. This is why it takes me a little long to come up with these videos. I like to think about ideas, and as soon as they come, I write them down. And I feel like if I don't write them down, they leave me. They leave me in seconds or minutes. They do leave me. I completely forget about them. I'm like foil that's receiving ideas and then they leave me. If I don't write them down, they leave me forever. So I write them down. Once I write them, I capture them, and then I can deliver them here to you. And I love that. I love that about myself. I can think of ideas really quickly on the spot, but I've never been able to make any of them a reality. Mostly because they're pretty outlandish and complex. Some of them are too far into the future that is not possible. Others just require too many resources and time and focus, which I do not have focus. I got the mind of an ADHD on amnesia and Alzheimer's. So it can't be me. but they exist and everybody thinks about them. I'm just the only one that so far has been capturing them and putting them out there into the sky. I'm talking about the sky. Pretty cool how the phones are always talking to each other and the satellites just using the sky. Nikola Tesla believed that you could harness electricity from the sky alone, just not even the sky, but the surroundings, just the surroundings, like nothingness from nothingness. Something about it, he believed that he wanted to build a ginormous Tesla coil or antenna, and this thing was going to harness all that electricity and use it. Or I think he was going to make everything electric in the air, and it would turn on all devices, kind of like wireless chargers, but from the distance. So you have this big old antenna a mile away. You turn it on, and it turns all the lights in your house, or your charges your phone, even if you're not nowhere near it. It's just like wireless charging in a large scale. It's a pretty cool idea, and I think he didn't make this happen for some reason. Maybe he was out of money, or he died too soon before making it possible. I don't know what the history is, but many people have said that it's impossible. Some say that it's possible to do that. Something that was very curious about it is that he was hinting at the idea of wireless energy, wireless electricity. And I always thought that was a funny idea, something silly like that's not possible. That's not never gonna happen. It's like a wireless faucet, you know, like a wireless sink that you have a faucet. It's like a cartoon thing where you hold a faucet in your hand and all of a sudden it throws water, but where the water's coming from, we got no idea. He got that Bluetooth shower rod. It's just to me that's how it felt always. Like what is wireless energy? And now, so many years later, it's actually a thing with phones being able to charge in the back by a battery pack or by putting them in some magnetic plastic full of coils, and it does charge wirelessly. Now the phone has to be super close to it, but in the future, the technology could improve so that it doesn't have to be so close into it. And then there's always the fear that does this energy do anything to you and your body because it's always there? I don't know, but I it fascinates me. Radio energy in particular is really cool. I've seen videos where somebody puts a sausage on an antenna, one of those big antennas that they tell you to stay far away from and not touch them, and he shows you why. I think he has a stick and a sausage, and then he puts the sausage on the metal, and it starts burning. It starts getting cooked. But as the sausage gets cooked, it starts talking. It starts playing the radio. It's really, really bizarre. So imagine imagine electricity doing the electricity sound that goes brrr, and cooking the sausage. But for some reason, instead of going brrr, it starts giving you radio show. You start hearing words and music. It's just, I think it's really, really cool and really bizarre. And I've never investigated why is that, but I do know that electricity makes noises, and there's people that use Tesla coils to make music just by the frequency of the electricity or the amperage. I don't know what they mess with, but depending on the power of it, it makes a different noise when it hits a metal. And people make music with it in concerts, and they put themselves in a jail of metal and rubber boots or something so they don't get electrocuted. Super cool, super scary. I really don't understand electricity, but it fascinates me how it works. The radio. A lot of people have always believed that radio signals could cook your brain or is affecting us. You know, like 5G, 3G, 4G, all the G's out there. All the G's. Top G's. Wait, I need to speed up over here. I need to pass this big old Texas truck looking thing that's sporting a bunch of cows, the F-150 Super 350/40. You know which one I'm talking about, the gas guzzler. the oil's best friend. There we go. Now getting the highway. Ooh, cool. Ooh, yeah. So a lot of yeah. That's what it's like to drive around here. You got to take a breathe once in a while. So I was talking about the radio and the electricity put in a sausage. Oh yeah, people believe that signals are messing with us, and most likely they are. Most likely, because when I go to a forest or a place that is far away where I cannot get signal, it just feels different. Feels very nice, very fresh. It could definitely just be my mind playing tricks because it's nature and it's pretty and there's no noise. And could also be the signals. And my only belief of that is because of what that radio antenna did to the sausage. If you're close enough to it to where it cooks you, literally, it makes noise with how it's burning you. And then there's Wi-Fi who goes through walls in your house, but the more walls it goes through, the less power it has. So you know it has power. So what if you are super close to the Wi-Fi? What does that do? No idea. There's the phones in your pockets. There's just a bunch of signals. And then there's the radio signal, and then there's satellite signal, which are different. One of them goes all the way through space, the other one doesn't. Radio waves are very different to phone waves or phone towers. They have a different type of distance and they reach not so high. They're all good at one thing and not at the other or something like that. It's confusing. But yeah, that's why I understand people who believe that signals out there are messing with their brains or messing with their body. It definitely could be, but it's hard to measure, or I have no idea if anybody has tried. But it's a cool thing to think about once in a while. I don't know where it gets me to think about that, but I can understand their point of view. However, I can say that it does make someone crazy to look like you believe in that. It does. It just does. So much that in one very famous show, Better Call Saul, there was one character, his brother, who is affected by signals outside the home, and so he surrounds his home with aluminum foil, and he wears a aluminum foil jacket or a special space jacket, as he calls it, blanket. And then the guy, his brother, tries to prove that his disease is just in his mind and it's not real, and he really cannot feel the electricity as he says that he can, and he makes you doubt. That show is pretty good. It makes you really doubt and actually believe that he does feel the signals. But then the brother proves it by putting a phone in his pocket on his chest when he was not aware of it. And he was acting all normal and all good in front of court. And then as soon as he tells him there's a phone in his pocket, he freaks out and gets a panic attack. And everybody sees that it's all fake and it's mostly mental, all mental for him. If he was real, he would have felt it in the chest, but never did. And it was very interesting. But yeah, that's how it makes people look when someone says that the Wi-Fi is cooking us and 5G is going to control our mind and everything. Like, it just is what it is. At this point, it is what it is. Just like phones are have become a part of life now. They are just what they are. Impossible to get away from them. Some schools have started to ban them or take them away, but I don't know how that's working out for them. I'm pretty sure your students are much better, but how do you go through that every morning is something. It's going to be a time waster. And one has to do what one has to do. A lot of bullying right now is being done by over the phone, usually by Instagram. They're picking up fights during the phone. It's no longer like, hey, I'll meet you here and I'll meet you there. It's more like texting it. So now teachers really don't know what's going on unless somebody rats them out. The technology has been changing a lot, but at the same time, our other technology has stayed back a lot. There's so much technology that we still have that has just stayed at one spot. I find it interesting. It's kind of like steampunk, but right now in our world, steampunk is usually old technology from the 1800s. Um, Looks like everything is run by pistons and gas masks. But then, but then it has crazy technology advanced where cars fly. It's just uh, robots. They have robots that run on steam engines that are burning coal, or spiders. I remember that movie, a spider that's burning coal with a wheelchair guy on top. That was a cool movie. So that's steampunk. Somehow they're super advanced, but the technology, their base technology, is behind. I feel like that is what's going on today, but it's not as romantic as steampunk. We instead have the same trash trucks. I mean, it's just a truck that carries a big old container. The container hasn't gotten any fancy. It's not like the container now has Bluetooth or it measures how much weight. I don't know. I'm not a trucker, but it doesn't look like it from the outside. It looks like a hunk of metal. The pickup trucks look like pickup trucks and have always looked like that. The vans look like vans. The cars, nothing looks any different. What other part of the technology is still the same? Buildings, they're still squarey, void of anything. You still see a lot of old gas stations that with mold and old buildings that have never been painted in their life. They've just been painted by the fatness of the people driving around it. You'll still see barns falling apart. Laptops haven't changed much. Laptops still look like laptops since the day that they were a thing. It's not like they transform. Phones are the only ones that have actually morphed into something else. You used to have, that's a pretty good example. You used to have the phone with two phones that you have to put one in your ear, one in your mouth. And then you had the big old one that you have to carry around, your cellular phone. It looks like you're going to order an airstrike on your neighbor. Then you have the typical phone in scary movies, the rings. I don't know how to describe it, but you know which one I'm talking about. Then you have the other one where it's a home phone that it's on a charger all the time. And then you got the blueberries, blackberries, whatever that phone is called, with a keyboard, and so on and so on. But pickup trucks have always looked like pickup trucks. The trucks that carry concrete and the trucks that carry rocks have always looked the same. Trailers have always looked the same. Not the trailer itself that drives, but the thing that they carry. Mobile homes have always looked like mobile homes on the outside. The inside has changed and it looks very nice, but that's most likely just a play with your eyes on the wood and the style and the furniture. But it hasn't changed. Even homes haven't changed. They haven't gotten smart. You can make them smart, but it just, you have to try really hard that it becomes pointless. You can put light bulbs that connect to the Bluetooth and you can adjust their lighting. I have a couple of those, but they don't always work. Sometimes they have trouble. They don't remember. Sometimes they don't remember the feature, the amount of light that I put them on. So they just turn on at maximum power. And I guess you could have other smart stuff like the smart stove that refuses to cook if you don't connect it to the internet. But it just becomes like a crutch. What else do we have that is super advanced? Drones? Drones are advanced. Advanced little helicopters. I remember when I used to have this helicopter made of foam and it was just painted like a helicopter, but essentially what it was a little motor at the top and a little motor on the back. At first, it was just the motor on the top and you couldn't control where it went. And it was just a piece of plastic that looks like a helicopter, so it's flying anywhere where it wants to. Then it evolved to a helicopter that can turn sideways. Then I had a helicopter that could turn sideways and shoot little plastic darts, which was really fun. And now you have drones. So that one has advanced a lot from before, but it still feels. And then I drive around and I still see cars that you roll the window down and it has a CD player, things like that. Fences still look like fences. There's a couple of things that you'll never change how they look. Looks like fences have always looked like fences, no matter what year it's been. I find that very interesting, except the chain link fences. I think that's a new. a new invention, thanks to probably machines that can twist the metal. Probably before it wasn't so easy, so there weren't many. But there's certain designs that you can't beat, like the wood stacked on farms that just works with some wire. Trees haven't changed. Trees look like trees. Let's be honest here. I don't have any Bluetooth tree at the moment. I don't have a tree that I can summon and it comes to me. I don't have a self-driving tree. How about a tree that is born with lights? Huh? Christmas lights still look like Christmas lights. Now they're moving to these LED ones that you can just glue on your house and then turn on by a, I don't know, Bluetooth, I guess. That's nice. But other than that, Christmas lights look like the same. But they have been evolving. I remember that. I do remember that. They've been evolving. I remember my grandma used to tell me not to touch the Christmas lights because I was going to get stuck. And now that I'm older, I believe that that was just a lie to make me stop touching the Christmas lights because they were worried I would break light bulb. But they were just so cool. Those Christmas lights were so cool. They were the spiky. And then the more she told me that if I touched them, I would get stuck, I just want to touch them more and test her hypothesis, which I proved wrong every time. But I was afraid that one day it would become true. So I guess it worked a little bit as intended. Light posts in the US look still like light posts. And I'm talking about the electrical ones, the one with the cables. Some countries put those cables underground. The US doesn't do that. They keep them above ground. I don't know the reason for that. But when you look at them, they're made out of wood. And they are, if you stand on right next to them, they come from a single rod of wood, which leads me to believe that that's a single tree that they maybe rolled around some machine to sort of keep it on the same size, or maybe it's the same type of tree, but that's a large tree. That is one tall tree. Every single light post I see here, it's made of a single piece of tree. It does not look like it's two trees together or multiple trees together. I think that would make their structure a little less strong. But when you look at them, they're magnificent, tall trees. Makes me wonder what forest they got them from, what state, because it must be a very old forest where they got this. Take a time, take a minute, and look around when you drive and look at those electrical posts made out of wood. I don't even think we have trees like that anymore. I don't know what they do if we need to put more electrical posts. We'll probably switch to metal or plastic or something because I don't know where they get trees like that anymore. I think we ran out of old trees. Maybe the older trees are just protected in some forests, but I don't know where they get these big tall trees. Just take a look at them. They're impressive. History is all around us. Those posts were probably placed as soon as electricity was a thing or when phones were a thing. And it's just, yeah, well, the US is one of the few countries that still does this. Most countries in Europe bury their cables underground and it looks nice. China, I don't even remember. China does both underground and above. But they also have cameras all over the place. So there's that. Why do we not have Bluetooth trees at this point? That's something that I've always noticed. You see on the news how our technology is advancing so crazy, and the topic of AI and all the podcasters talking about how it's going to take all over the world. And then I look at I don't know, the trash trucks, and they look the same. I look at the electrical posts; they're made out of trees, and I'm not sure how much AI is going to change things. I'm like, well, I guess I'm quite optimistic here. That's nice to know, but even if AI takes over, I don't know what it's going to do other than kill people. Like, what else can it do? Our technology is not that advanced yet, not in general. And I've heard a famous quote from somebody that said that technology is already here or the future is here, but it's just distributed all over the world or is disproportionately distributed. So some countries look very advanced, like China, and some countries still look like they are in the 1800s, like Middle East countries. When I see those videos, man, when I saw that video, it's a famous trend on TikTok where they make AI make somebody do a selfie in a time period. It's very fun. It's like somebody from the 1800s in Britain with a top hat and suits is walking along the streets taking a selfie and showing you his lifestyle. And then there's the same with the biking. And here's my village. And he's filming the village in the sea. And here's where I make the bread. And here's where I keep the farm animals. And here's where we pray. And it's just very, very odd because it looks so real. And it's just getting information from what we know about the historic time period. So it's very fun to see that in action. We know that it's fake, but it's still very interesting to see it because it looks close to what it would look like. All right. Now, I was talking about the Middle East. So then there is one where they're doing the same thing. Here's my village in the 1800s, but I think it was more like the 1500s or 1400s, something like that. And I don't know where it was. I think it was somewhere in Europe. And it looked, I was the market somewhere in the Salt Road or something like that back then when. And it looked exactly like the Middle East when I see the footage from the soldiers, the US soldiers that are walking around with their cameras. It looks exactly like that. The markets look the same and the huts. But I'm talking about not a city in the Middle East, but the villages where there's huts and everybody is just on the road walking around, dressed in robes. The same. And that made me realize that that quote is correct. Technology or the future is already here, but it's distributed disproportionately all over the place. So we have places that still look like we're in the 1400s before Christopher Columbus discovered America or something. At the same time, we have China, whose skyscrapers shoot fireworks and become a gigantic TV. And then their drones make gods. If you flew those drones above a tribe that doesn't know anything about civilization, you could make them believe into a god. You could. These Chinese drones can make Wukong on the sky. They can make a dragon in the sky. It's really cool. And then you have other countries which are in between. Cities, most likely cities, because America has cities that look more advanced than other little cities. Same to do with Mexico, Africa, Europe, all the continents, Asia. But it's a cool concept. Technology is here already. It's just all over the place. I've also heard that that we don't have a starvation problem. We have a distribution problem when it comes to food. Apparently, we have the food, we just don't have a way to distribute it. So, well, that could be true. Perhaps if one day we discover teleportation, we could prove that theory or hypothesis, because we could just teleport food everywhere without that much of a cost, if it's cheap to teleport. Another thing that I've realized is that a lot of our thoughts as a group of humans, a lot of our ideas themselves have some merit to it and they are real, but we're just not in the time period for it. For example, in Star Trek, people would communicate with this device from far away around the ship or planets, between planets in the ship. And there's this little device now in our future, it looks like a phone. It looks like they're speaking on a phone. But back then, when Star Trek was coming out, the oldest one of them all, phones like that didn't exist, but the concept did exist. Imagine we could talk to other people with this little device from far away. The flying, people have always wanted to fly. The Wright brothers who made the first airplane, but everybody has the idea of being a Superman type of flying. Everybody since ever. And now we do have something similar, which is the jetpack with the arms and feet propulsors, which I don't know if it's real. I keep seeing those videos of soldiers and people flying with those things. And I always feel, is this AI? But I've seen that for years. Even the military, there were some old videos of the military doing that. Then there's a drone that can you can stand on it and it flies and it carries you. And there's people flying on it with a helmet, which I don't know. Well, I guess it helps, but if you fall, those bullets are going to cut you to pieces. What I was imagine. It's going to start with your legs and your fingers, but the helmet. So anyways, that concept of getting on a platform and flying has always been here in humanity. We have superheroes that do that all the time. Silver Surfer has that platform. Magneto flies on platforms. Who else flies like that? The Green Goblin from the Spider-Man movie flies on a platform. If you want to move from superheroes, Aladdin flies on a carpet. And I think that's an old story. I don't know how old, but it is old. But we've always had that concept of a platform that flies and we stand on it. And now we make it real with a drone. It just has to improve, but it's there. And that sparks a lot more ideas. For example, there's one idea that we've always had, always in science fiction, and one of these days is going to be true. And that is growing humans in a vat, in a bottle. It's always been that. And one day we're going to figure it out, and women will not have to go through birth. The birth process is crazy for the woman, very painful, and just carrying a child is a lot. So it makes sense that the moment that we figure out how to grow a human in a bottle, we will abuse it. We will abuse it because it just gets rid of a pain, a huge pain. And there will be people that are, purists that will say, I want to do it as nature intended and have my baby the normal way. But that's always in every single thing in society. Just like the people that still stick to the flip phone and rather than using, the phone. So yeah, that's one idea that will eventually come true. I don't know if in my lifetime, but will become true. Growing a human in a bottle. Or the moment you can do that, you'll also be able to mess with the human and grow it a certain way. Another one is you create your own human. You want to make it smarter, stronger, taller, handsomer. That will also happen as soon as it's possible to do that. Just as we've always talked about how to cure diseases before we are born by modifying our genetics so that the disease is never in us. That is already in process. So the human will happen. But I find it very interesting how there's ideas that have passed the test of time and over we see them. And one day they'll become true. And it's fun. Like the Frankenstein or the bring someone back to life, the zombie. Those have always been with us. The one bringing to life has always been with us. Always. And maybe one day we'll do it. Or maybe it's one of those ideas that is so impossible. It's just like flying. We've always wanted to fly. One day we will do it. We've always wanted to come back from death. We will one day do it. At first, it's not going to look the way that we want it to look, like an actual person just getting up from the bed and be like, hi, what year is it? Instead, it could look like at first, like that movie where you upload your mind to a computer and then the computer speaks on your behalf, like an AI. It could be, imagine your grandpa is about to die and he trains an AI to act like him and think like him. And we know that it's a robot, it's just a computer being smart about it and looking at patterns. It's not really your grandpa. Once he passes away, you can talk to his computer and the computer sort of interprets what your grandpa would have said in that situation. So it looks like you still have him around, but it's 100% not your grandpa. But eventually that technology gets better and closer to being your grandpa until it finally blurs the line of, is he really my grandpa right now, or is he really just good at it as a computer? And I'm thinking about that because of AI videos. At first, they were so easy to spot, like the Will Smith spaghetti. But now they're getting a little harder to spot. There's some videos that if the person doesn't tell you, you will never know. There's one where the person feeds you a video of him speaking to the camera and everything looks natural, but then he tells you that that's literally AI. Everything, the background, the person speaking, and even the voice. Everything with a lot of training, whatever that means. I don't think it trains like kung fu the way we train kung fu, whatever that means. Download some files, unzip the file, compress, decompress. So yeah, AI is blurring the line. One day we may also blur that line in other aspects. It's just the fact that it's possible. It has happened in one category, so nothing will stop it to happen on the other category. That is, if we don't blow ourselves up before that happens. We believe that technology keeps advancing. That's the thought around the world, no matter what we do. So, for example, if I'm just a baker, no matter what happens in 10 years, technology will be more advanced, even though I did not contribute to technology as a baker. We have that thought. But one day, we'll be a baker for 10 years and this technology will not have advanced 1 centimeter. And we'll be thinking and finally pondering, why is that? And you'll realize because maybe we hit a wall, a ceiling, or our engineers have switched from being an engineer to becoming a stripper. Simple as that. They have changed careers, and now we don't have engineers, or the computer science technology has become too advanced that we stopped training people a long time ago, and nobody wants to join. So whenever the old people die or retire, the young ones come in and they're like, I don't even know how to use this technology anymore. It's way too advanced and nobody here to train me. I never learned this in school. And our technology starts going back. That's what I always want. That can happen. And that is the idea from the movie Stupidity or something. I forgot that one. It's the guy that gets frozen in time, gets woken up later on, and the entire world is stupid. The technology is super advanced. Cars drive themselves. They get deactivated by the police, but then they get captured by the police, and the police just arrives and starts shooting at the sky in celebration and shoot a plane down by accident. Just, and they start feeding the crops with electrolytes because that's what plants crave instead of water. That idiocracy or idiocracy. I think it's idiocracy. Everybody's an idiot, and it's a political system like theocracy. So that is that concept where technology gets too advanced, but people bother less with learning that technology that eventually people stop improving it and then they forget how to even make it. That I feel that is more of what's going to happen to us. And for example, AI is the one coding now. Eventually, people will no longer know how to code because AI will do everything for you. So eventually, it could take many years, many, could take generations until someone discovers coding again. But that's what I'm imagining. Sometimes technology is going to surpass us and we're going to lose our teachers and we're not going to have any students anymore. We're just going to have consumers. That seems more plausible to me. If it's not war, then it's that. And it's going to hold our technology back. Now we're taking it for granted that everything is advancing at a really quick speed. That's beautiful. But it can't go on forever. Everything must come to an end. It's just the reality of it. Sounds pessimistic, but I think people are over optimistic. Now, if I'm wrong, then that's beautiful. We got a beautiful earth that just keeps getting upgraded. If I am right, then good if you listen so you can prepare, but I don't really know how you're going to prepare for that. But I called them. It's either war or we stopped being able to understand our own technology. However, with AI being able to learn everything at pace, and then if Neuralink becomes a thing where you can plant a chip in your head, and then you feed that AI to your brain, and now you have like an AI on your head, like an assistant, and it downloads information to you, and you no longer need children to go to school. And all you need to do is install this device on your children's head as soon as he's born because his head is malleable and his skull is malleable. Perhaps not because he grows too much. So it's going to mess with the cables and everything. But anyways, let's say that's possible. Then you can download all the information in the world and biases, and you no longer have to go to school, but then you face the problem that it gets hacked and you get controlled and you become a zombie or a cyborg. And that's another sci-fi cool concept. Everything has a pro and a con. And I have arrived to my office. I need to go pick up some chemicals. Thank you very much for listening to the Free Idea podcast. I enjoyed going over this with you. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I'll see you soon with another incredibly silly idea. Thank you.